The Pittsburgh Steelers are pinning a lot of their hopes in the 2025 NFL season on 41-year-old quarterback Aaron Rodgers. At the conclusion of mandatory minicamp, Rodgers seemingly has the Steelers convinced that was the right decision. A few members of the Steelers coaching staff raved about Rodgers and what he brings to the table for the team this fall. Pittsburgh quarterback coach Tomlin'S had the most empathic response to the media about how good the veteran quarterback looked during minicamp. "I still think he's at the top of his game. I think he's a top quarterback in the league," Arth said Wednesday. "Aaron was extremely impressive. He still throws the ball very well. He's accurate. He's so smart. You can see his decision-making. Doesn't take a lot of sacks." Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith echoed those comments. "We're talking about one of the greatest passers in the history of this game," Smith said Wednesday. "Not many guys have thrown the ball from the football like Aaron Rodgers, and obviously he's still doing that at a high level." Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin kept his answer brief, but was also clear that Rodgers is impressive. "Read his resume," said Tomlin on Tuesday to a question on what Rodgers will bring to the Steelers. Rodgers missed voluntary offseason workouts in May. He was unsigned for much of the offseason while dealing with personal issues, which he explained during an appearance on ESPN's The Pat McAfee Show on April 17th. The Steelers finally signed Rodgers to a one-year contract a few days prior to minicamp beginning on June 10th. Steelers' Aaron Rodgers, still looking good. It's important not to get carried away from performances in off-season workouts. They really don't mean much, especially once the preseason and regular season arrive. But Rodgers' arrival seems to have the Steelers' coaching staff optimistic that 2025 will be different than the last couple years. Nothing Rodgers did at camp changed that. If anything, Rodgers' practice performances added to the excitement. Rodgers will turn 42 years old in December, but he will be a second year removed from his 2023 Achilles injury. And as only all-time great quarterbacks have done in the past, Rodgers has continued to adapt. Aaron, the way he sees the game is different than he was when he was 25 to now that he's in his early 40s, but he's still throwing the ball at a high level, added Smith. It sounds as though Rodgers delivered a mini-camp performance the Steelers expected based on the offseason studying they did of the quarterback. Early in the 2024 season, the Achilles and a hamstring injury to follow clearly hampered him. But as time wore on, even with the Jets struggling, the Steelers saw Rodgers returning to form, SI's Albert Breer wrote. In the Jets' Halloween game against the Texans, he made a few big-time back-shoulder throws. He played well in both Dolphins games. In Week 16 against the Jaguars, Pittsburgh saw vintage Rodgers, with a late go-ahead touchdown throw to Davante Adams really standing out. Steelers aiming to snap playoff losing streak with Rodgers. Last year, the Steelers added a Super Bowl-winning veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson, who hadn't won a playoff game in 5 years, hoping he'd be the answer to the team snapping a postseason losing streak. This year, it will be Rodgers' turn to try and end Pittsburgh's playoff losing streak 5 years removed from his last postseason win. Rodgers has made just one postseason start over the last 4 seasons. That was a loss at home in the divisional round. Rodgers led the Green Bay Packers to the Super Bowl after the 2010 season. Overall, he is 11-10 in his playoff career as a starter. Mike Tomlin also won a Super Bowl early in his tenure. But since losing to Rodgers in the Super Bowl the quarterback won, Tomlin is 3-10 in the playoffs. Pittsburgh's last postseason win was in January 2017. The team is currently in the longest playoff win drought since the organization won its first postseason game in 1972. It feels safe to say the Pittsburgh Steelers won't be getting the MVP version of Aaron Rodgers in 2025. However, that might not be what they need to have a chance to contend in the AFC, more than just their annual first-round exit. Speaking on his 4th and One with Cam Newton podcast in a video posted Saturday, Cam Newton thinks Rodgers alone can give the Steelers life. "This comes with no surprise," Newton said. "And I believe anytime you have a good quarterback, you have a chance. Straight up, you have a chance with a quarterback, understanding that the coach, Mike Tomlin, is the most successful regular season coach with always getting a winning season. And when you combine that, who knows? It's going to be must-see TV in the AFC North." Newton makes a good point here. Quarterback stability, was something Mike Tomlin seemed to be seeking throughout the offseason. Multiple reports have suggested Tomlin was the driving force behind the decision to wait on Aaron Rodgers as long as he did. Tomlin has done a lot of great things coaching the Steelers, but he hasn't been able to develop much of anything at the quarterback position in recent years. With Rodgers, he's getting a player who needs no development, with nearly 2 decades of high-level production in the league. Our latest videos, if everything goes right, the Steelers could be one of the better teams in the AFC this season. For years now, the roster around the quarterback position has been impressive. In today's age, it's easily the most important position on the field. The fact that the Steelers haven't managed to figure out that position is a large part of the reason they've lost 6 consecutive playoff games. With that said, the offense around Aaron Rodgers will look different than it has in recent years. Najee Harris isn't a Steeler anymore, and Caleb Johnson takes his place. DK Metcalf also fills the shoes of George Pickens in the WR1 role. Pickens was jettisoned to the Dallas Cowboys earlier this offseason. There's a lot of young talent elsewhere on the offense, but it's unproven. There are plenty of reasons to be optimistic, though. Rodgers played some of his best football in recent memory toward the end of the 2024 season. If the Steelers can establish a ground game and the offensive line can protect Rodgers, they should be in good shape. Whether they can contend for the AFC title or even the divisional title may be a tall ask. If any quarterback stands a chance in ending the Steelers' long playoff losing streak, though, it's Aaron Rodgers. Over the past few years, questions have swirled about whether the Pittsburgh Steelers would ever move on, or maybe consider a trade, from head coach Mike Tomlin. Tomlin is set for his 19th season as the Steelers' head coach, and the franchise reportedly shut down the Chicago Bears' attempt to strike a deal this offseason. As for Tomlin's contract situation, NFL Network's Tom Pelissero mentioned it's a year-to-year situation during an appearance on The Rich Eisen Show. When asked to clarify, Pelissero said it's really uncharted territory. "My belief is Mike Tomlin will be the head coach of the Steelers for as long as he wants to be," Pelissero said. But he's entering his 19th year. There is not a lot of precedent in the modern NFL, Bill Belichick aside, for somebody going on 20 years with one team. It just doesn't happen. But Mike Tomlin, we all know, has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh, the reporter continued. He has a lot of influence over all aspects of the organization personnel. Look no further than Aaron Rodgers, who Mike Tomlin stumped for from the start. The Steelers finally landed Rodgers in June, 70 days after his initial meeting with the team. It was a massive get for the Steelers. If Rodgers chose to go elsewhere or retire, the quarterback situation with the Steelers would have been dire. Rodgers will likely be here for just one season. And his coach? Pelissero explained, "Every year, we have a story of some team reaching out on Mike Tomlin. Could you end up trading for him? Every year, there's some level of rumblings about could Mike Tomlin decide to do something else? Could he go into broadcasting? There's a lot of different things that he could choose to do." The Steelers have long held a reputation for continuity. But with the current situation, results will be paramount. "The results influence everything here," Pelissero said. "Mike Tomlin's own wishes influence things. I don't foresee, and nothing about the history of the Rooney family would indicate, that they would fire Mike Tomlin. I talked with Art Rooney about this last summer. What he said was, my standard is as long as the locker room is still listening to the coach, and we believe in the coach, there's no reason to make a change."